Yeah, well, that's a great question because there is a struggle between power and ideas, and there is a power in having the right ideas, and then you can have an idea of power that can be misdirected. And so all of these are important words. But one thing that I find interesting is I'm not so sure that emotions are not more powerful than ideas, and that emotions reveal ideas. I think to be overly conscious about your ideas can bring a paralysis to what is going on. And I love the idea of being sort of wild as well as wise, and getting at the sort of deep human emotional core of things. The positive forms of power is how we recognize one another, how we talk to one another, how we matter to one another, how we can listen to one another's stories, how we can understand, what our lives happen to be, how we know that the shortest distance between us is a story. The negative forms of power are so extraordinary and unfortunately being revealed more and more and more, it seems, these days, in the way that we sort of seem to be suffering an epidemic of loneliness and isolation. And also our political figures are running scared, and they want us to fear things too. But one of the things that I think is most important is that we don't kowtow to fear, that we don't allow fear to overtake us, and that's part of our own way to properly, I think, deal with this world. I run an organization called Narrative 4 that brings young people together to tell stories to one another, because they want to feel valuable. We want to feel as if we matter in this world. And instead of like looking at our telephones and spending our life looking at this 5-inch machine in our hands, we got to look at each other. We got to listen to one another. We got to respect one another. And does that sound sort of high-minded and pie in the sky? Maybe it does. I don't care. I think it's entirely true. And whether we're talking about Ireland, Northern Ireland, whether we're talking about Kentucky and the Bronx, whether we're talking about Israel, Palestine, we don't all have to love each other. We don't even have to like one another necessarily, though we hope that we could. But we absolutely must understand one another. And knowledge is power. And then we can fight back when we have knowledge of one another. I'm going to give you an answer that I think is my favorite answer. I don't know. I think that I don't know is a really good answer these days, because I think we are so diseased with certainty, and everybody has to come up with the right answer, and everybody has to believe that they are they're saying the right thing, and that my politics is correct, and my country is correct, or my take on society is correct. And I think if we were prepared to say I don't know, and explore these questions and pull them apart and then put them back together again, we would be in a much better place. In my literature, I think power comes from recognizing one another. Then in terms of the way the ideas operate, it comes from the way we look at one another and how these things are interlaced. Look, there's a lot of power that comes from above, and power wants to crush things from above. What's really interesting to me is when the power comes from underneath, when it's organic, when there is a sort of emergence that is going on. And we are so much more clever together than we are individually, and we're greater than the sum of our parts. And so I don't think anybody has a monopoly on power. I don't think anybody has a monopoly on ideas. And I do think that given the choice between ideas and emotions, I would go first for emotions, and they will lead to ideas. Because I do feel that it's much more agile to be talking about issues of the human spirit than facts and figures. The book that I find most packed with ideas is Ulysses by James Joyce. I mean, it's a compendium of human experience. It's funny, it's sharp, it's sexy, it's beguiling, it's like crazy. It has all this language, different language going on. It's a very simple story on one level. A man walks around Dublin for 24 hours, but on another level, it's about everything that we are. I think it is the great book of our times.